Good morning. I'm going to be reading another of my short stories all about my tame slapper, Booby Fellatio, this morning. It involves a type of fish called a sucking loach. The fish doesn't actually come into it, but there is a comparison between this fish and one of Booby's less fortunate lovers, shall we say. So, Booby Fellatio and the Sucking Loach. I am utterly livid, darlings, raging, in fact. Even Helga, who normally has the sensitivity quotient of a large acreage of blubber, noticed and commented, though her "what's with the face like a slapped arse, Booby" stallion turn out to be a gelding was, I felt, a trifle harsh. Yesterday's horrific experience has absolutely confirmed my decision to dally only with fresh and youthful specimens. So distressed was I that this morning's gentle makeover left me looking like a raddled old clown, my mascara wand suddenly refusing to obey the simplest command. "Beware of Greeks bearing gifts" has never resonated more sonorously in my damaged soul. And though one cannot eschew an entire country's population because of one person's dishonorable behavior, I am feeling a little anti-all things Hellenic at present. My argumentative amanuensis she deemed scribe patronizing and unacceptable, has just snapped at me, saying, "For God's sake, stop going round the houses, Booby. It's like trying to keep pace with a prowling madwoman." Very loyal, I don't think. Where was I? Oh, yes, Greeks and gifts. 2 days ago, just after the Reverend Percival and Honoria had left, I had a phone call from an old school friend, Calliope Florakis. "I know your views on young and virile men, Berengula," she began, and so touched was I to hear once more the affectionate diminutive she always used back in our shared days at St. Ursula's School, Fritham, that I gave her the benefit of the doubt when she went on to say, "But I have found the most perfect stud for you to sample. He is simply gorgeous. Avion is his name, and were I not happily married to dear Vasily, I would marinate him in olive oil and devour him myself." I got straight to the point, having not, as it were, been born yesterday, unlike the vast majority of my men, with a crisp, "Exactly how old are we talking here, Kaliki?" The small pause should have warned me. "Put it this way, Agapimu," she replied, "he won't see 30 again." To me, this counted as positively welcome news, since I am prepared at a push to enter Saturn return territory with my treats, provided that the upper limit of 35 is not broached. Besides, Calliope has always been most adept at finding and attracting utterly gorgeous male companions, and from that point of view, anyone recommended by her was bound to be one with whom I could happily accessorize. I did the sensible thing, looked him up on Facebook. No birth date given, but this is not unusual. I don't advertise such information myself, and he looked scrumptious in the many photos shown on the page. When he rang me, I was further reassured, having always been a bit of a sucker for a melodic Welsh accent, and I put the phone down in a state of near rapture, thinking, "You can talk me into bed any time you want, Cariad." When he rang the doorbell yesterday afternoon, I was initially mesmerized. Tall, dark, and from the evidence peeping between the buttons of his shirt, hairy. He had beautiful green eyes and the kind of mellifluous speaking voice that suggests harps, bards, eisteddfods, and, more to the point, dalliance in icy Welsh streams. "There's lovely," he said, upon being given the guided tour of my humble abode, and the admiring looks he was sending my way were most flattering. True, he did look as if his Saturn return were a distant memory, but I like to think that I am broad-minded, and I am at a pinch prepared to navigate the downward masculine slopes of the late 30s. I disrobed and slipped into a toothsome little pale green number and watched as he divested himself of his outer garments too. Most satisfactory on the bod front. Positively Amazonian chest hair. I'd have to be very careful not to disappear without trace. Muscles indicative of regular exercise, a lubricative level of black stubble, and, well, put it this way, his Titanic todger indicated rare cooperation between members of the notoriously competitive post-birth fairy godmother contingent. His opening salvo on the romantic front came as something of a shock, therefore. "Come on then, Mehed," he started. "Let's have a bit of the old oral, isn't it? The length of my tongue has gone right through the valleys like greased lightning." On the one hand, a man who actually knows how to perform cunnilingus is worth two in the bush. On the other, something about length and greased lightning suggested a level of braggadocio I couldn't help finding somewhat repellent. But fool that I am, I acquiesced, and having first brought him to the peak of ecstasy, courtesy of my own not insignificant fellating ability, I didn't adopt my surname for nothing, you know, allowed him access to my, as he put it, girly parts, look you. It became clear very quickly that he had the same command of female anatomy that I have of geography. None, in a word. His inept attempts to locate my bits resulted in first-degree stubble burns in an area already tenderized by super and simple, and his assertion that everyone knows the female orgasm comes from the birth tunnel, isn't it, resulted in a thoroughly unpleasant half hour or so in which he sucked upon my canoodling canal as if attempting to get sherbet out of a very tight licorice stick. When I sighed audibly, he bristled in both senses, and speaking with his mouth full, most ungentlemanly, said, "Jew, there's ungrateful, Mavanowy, Gwaur, Bithig, and all the other tidy Welsh totty, climax like steam trains out of control. Repressed you are like all Saesneg bitches." And on that sour note, he withdrew his mandible area from my now aching stately pleasure dome, and huffing in a darkly Celtic manner, exited from my bed and life. All the way through this most unfortunate incident, I was scratching my brain, trying to recall who he reminded me of, and despite my gift for name, face, recall, nothing emerged. Until, that is, a few hours had passed, the stinging sensation having meanwhile been soothed with plentiful supplies of fresh aloe vera, and it suddenly came to me in a flash. He was the spitting image of the most unpleasant denizen of my father's exotic fish tank when I was a child. There, lurking at the front, eyeing up the guppies most malevolently, his huge mouth stuck to the glass, bulbous eyes set in a predatory smirk, would be Henry, the Sucking Loach. The way he hoovered up the algae, was all too reminiscent of Welsh Ivion's version of a bit of the old oral, isn't it? The Fellatio family's Sucking Loach outlived all the other fish in the tank, probably sucked them to death, and as an antidote to the horror of yesterday, I like to imagine Ivion, the Welsh Sucking Loach, extracting internal organs from the poor misguided girls who are taken in, as I was so briefly, by a bardic voice and a body to die for. To top the table of misery and humiliation, I found out afterwards that he was 43. My loathly labia liquor, I mean, not the Sucking Loach. Far too old and set in his ways for me. The valleys are welcome to him. There you go. Goodbye.